G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today I'm interviewing Danielle Allen from Two Birds Brewing, which is based in Yarraville, Melbourne, Australia. But Danielle, you're now based in Perth, Australia, aren't you?
I am indeed.
Thanks for your time today.
No worries for having me on.
Let's start with how we know each other. So we've both got a mutual friend in Sam Reed from Willie Smith's Organic Cider. I think I had him on in episode 8, one of the first ones a year and a half ago now. He thought you might be a great guest to come on the cast.
Good old Sammy. Yeah, he gave us the intro. So hope you're listening, Sammy, and hopefully we can have a beer or cider, I don't know, one day soon.
A dangerous friend to have a beer or cider with, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But tell our audience a bit about your business, what it does and how it makes money.
So I'm the co-founder of Two Birds Brewing, which is Australia's first female-founded brewery. We started up in 2011. My business partner, Jayne Lewis, and I. Jayne's the brewing half of Two Birds, and I look after the sales marketing side of the business. So, yeah, we launched in 2011, and we have a brewery in Spotswood in Melbourne, which is in Melbourne's west.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, we make beer and now cider and seltzer as well and distribute it to all over Australia and a couple of export markets as well.
Great. Yeah, no, I got it wrong. I thought it was Yarraville, but it is Spotswood. That was a great movie with Russell Crowe and... God, what was his name? The English actor plays Hannibal.
Dennis? Was it Dennis?
No, Hannibal. The guy who plays Hannibal Lecter in.
Yeah.
And Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins, that's the one. Yeah.
It's called Spotswood. Russell Crowe's in that. I haven't seen it, but apparently it's quite good. And it's based in, obviously, where your brewery's based.
Yeah, that's right. So we did. Yarraville is where Jayne lives.
Right.
So you weren't too far off. And we have a PO box in Yarraville before we actually had the brewery and transferred everything over. But yeah, Yarraville is our neighbouring suburb.
And how did you start out?
The startup story. So Jayne and I are both West Australian girls, but we both sort of moved to the East Coast for career reasons, but we remained friends. And it was 2010, her and I were on a trip in the US, and Jayne had done all of the planning because it was originally her idea to take this trip, and it included visiting a bunch of breweries and wineries and Michelin star restaurants and, living the high life on this tour that we were doing.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah, totally. So it was on that trip where I guess the idea really sparked. And for me, I've always had an interest in potentially starting my own business. I just didn't have that idea, but it came to me very strongly on that trip after hearing Jayne talk about some of the beer ideas that she had. She was the head brewer at Mountain Goat at the time, and I was in product development at Woolies. So I'd had sort of a 10-year career in marketing and product development, and Jayne had the same amount of time in brewing and winemaking. And it was just sort of like one of those moments in time where you think if we put our two skills together, they're quite different but complementary, and we could actually start a business together, and that's what we did.
Well, you've both come from fairly big businesses. Woolworths, for those outside of Australia, is one of the two in the duopoly. They own about 80% of the grocery or the shopping market, and Mountain Goat was acquired a few years ago. They were doing millions of litres at the time, from memory, when they were acquired. So they're quite a big brewery. Yeah,
that's right. So definitely some good experience and grounding from, the career paths that we had prior to us branching out on our own and starting a brewery. So definitely had, some runs on the board to know what we were doing and getting ourselves into, really.
If you can remember back to that trip, do you have a favourite brewery you visited in the US?
There was quite a few.
Yeah, I bet.
It's funny because I did a big walk down memory lane because we just hit our 10-year anniversary last month. So I did do a lot of reflecting and looking back. But Green Flash was one of them that really stood out. It was really bright coloured and, beautiful, clean brewery and premise that we got a tour of. Golden Road was another fun one that we visited that had a female founder. So that was maybe part of the inspiration for why we started out. I'd probably flick to Jayne normally in these interviews for that, because she keeps all those breweries in her mind, whereas I tend to just drink the beer and move on.
And 10 years ago when you started out, what age were you when you decided to jump from corporate to being a business owner?
So Jayne and I we were both 32 in 2011, 32. So that gives you an idea of my age now. For just on 10 years. So we're well into our 40s now.
And do you have some key numbers to illustrate the business growth over the years?
So in brewing, I'm sure you're well aware, most of the time we usually talk in volume in litres of beer. And, our goal was to hit that 1 million litre mark, and we almost tipped over the million back in 2018. So I guess we started out as a contract brewer without our own facility, and then solidly grew around 30% year on year towards 2018. In the last couple of years, it did start to plateau off, a number of different factors for that happening. Towards the 1 million litres was where we were heading. And to put that into perspective, it's 2,400 cartons of beer a week, or nearly 6,500 schooners of beer a day.
A day. Wow, you've kept a lot of people busy.
Maybe not in, I don't know, maybe that's leaning more towards the weekends, hopefully, not every single day.
Yeah. And so how far into that 10-year journey did you flip from contract brewing to setting up your own, brewery there in Spotswood?
Yeah, so we launched in 2011, and we thought we would be at the building a brewery stage after 5 years, but we soon sort of realised that having a home was pretty important. It was the number one question that people asked: "Oh, where are you based?" And I guess it was the least risky option for us to start off the contract brewing. We didn't have any huge amounts of money sitting around to go and build a brewery. So we really wanted to dip our toe in the water and focus on marketing, distribution, logistics, getting those things right. And then, I think it was only 12, 18 months down the track, we really realised that we loved what we were doing. We thought we could take it further. So we started looking at the next steps at about that point, and found the place on Hall Street in Spotswood where we are, sort of late in 2013, and opened the doors to that in the middle of 2014.
Oh, great. I still haven't been to the brewery, but I'm assuming you've got a nice tap room there.
Yeah, it's a heritage listed building, so it's quite nice. It was a blank canvas when we found it, sort of factory out the back and office building at the front. So we've turned the front space into a bar and casual dining, and the back is obviously a brewery. So we started out just having one unit, and then we expanded to the unit next door. It became available just right when we needed it, which was convenient. So we punched a hole in the wall and took over the next door, and then we also have a unit out the back as well. So it's in a complex, but yeah, it is a heritage building and beautiful light and bright space. And actually used to make beer cans back in the day, so it's sort of
really
come back. Yeah, in the 1800s, I believe.
Wow. Okay.
That sounds too long away. No, it can't be that far away.
No.
Early 1900s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds more like it.
Yeah.
And just the FTE, so I assume it was just the two of you that started out, and what kind of full-time equivalent team members were you up to?
So Jayne and I, just the two of us for the first couple of years until we embarked on that building a brewery stage, and then we got our first head brewer and our first salesperson. So, yeah, just the two of us until 2014. And then we've gradually grown since then up until Jan of this year when we had around about 20. But then we obviously became part of a broader business in January this year, of which there's now around about 150 people in Fermentum, I believe.
Yeah, that's Stone and Wood, which is a fantastic beer made out of Byron Bay. I think they're the second largest independent brewer in Australia after Cooper's in Adelaide, who have about 5% of the market share. And Stone and Wood are, going and growing really strongly.
Yeah, that's right. We couldn't be more pleased to have joined the Fermentum family and sit alongside, Stone and Wood, some Fixation, which is another amazing Melbourne brewery that focuses on IPAs, and some other sister brands across ginger beer and seltzer as well. So, to see Two Birds next to Stone and Wood is, it's a real kind of great, next chapter for Two Birds.
When was the moment you felt like you had succeeded?
I find that question hard to believe. It's sort of hard to answer because I still feel like there's such a way to go and really make an impact. And I guess trying to make an impact for, women in beer, women in business, diversity in general. So I still feel like there's a long way to go for me to feel like, I've been, inverted commas, successful, so to speak.
What does success look like to you?
I reckon when I can't remember the last time that I was asked, what's it like being a woman in a man's world? When I can honestly say that somebody hasn't asked me that for a really long period of time, I reckon then I'll feel like I've been successful.
Oh, shit. Yeah, I can see how that would be very frustrating. And yeah.
It's not frustrating at all. It's just I still find it, that people still find that quite like amazing or are shocked by it. I still like, why are you shocked by that? I've been doing this for 10 years. It's not really that out of the ordinary. So and women have always drunk beer, enjoyed beer. So I'll know that I've done my job right when I stop getting asked that question.
The number one thing you'd recommend to marketing a fast-growing business?
Probably just staying on top of trends and really not ever thinking that you can rest and sort of set and forget, because it's really not the case. I don't know about other industries, but definitely in craft beer and craft beverages, it's moving at such a rapid pace that if you don't kind of keep up with what's happening around you, you can kind of fall behind. But in saying that, you've got to balance that with, not losing yourself and kind of, staying true to yourself and not just copying what other people are doing. So, having a firm view of your vision and I guess sticking to it, but making sure that you keep revisiting where you're at and, planning the next 6 months and looking forward.
How did you fund your business?
Our business is self-funded, so self-funded by Jayne and myself, and I guess we backed ourselves a lot when it came to that. And then in 2014, when we built the brewery, we did get some asset financing at that point. I think a wise person said to me, if you can borrow, then you should borrow. We got some asset financing from the Commonwealth Bank at that point. But other than that, it was just reinvested and growth was funded from within.
So no investors or government grants?
No investors, but government grants, definitely. We've been in the Export Development Marketing Grant, been enrolled in that and utilising that for at least 5-6 years.
Yep.
And the R&D research and development grant as well. That's been a huge assistance for us from a cash flow point of view through the years. So enjoyed the benefits of those grants.
So which countries do you export to at the moment?
At the moment, post-COVID, just Japan. We've got an order ready to go to Japan in a couple of weeks. But just at the pre-COVID, one of the last boats that I think made it into the docks at China was ours. And so it was the very beginnings of COVID. We haven't, unfortunately, sent anything since then, but also sent a little bit to Singapore, and that's it. Yeah, Japan, China, and Singapore.
If you were to start up today with plenty of funding, would you go into your industry?
I thought about that question, and I guess my answer is no. I wouldn't go into it, but that's not because I don't think that it's a great industry. It's got amazing people in it. I think it's more that I would approach something just because with fresh eyes, and I probably wouldn't do it all over again. I would want to try something new just for my own personal growth and satisfaction of learning and continuing to grow. But yeah, craft beer is amazing. Hard work, like most things, but yeah, there's a lot of people and customers and consumers out there that are really grasping craft beer and supporting local, which is really exciting to see that big shift of the way people, drink and consume and support local businesses.
Yeah, it's been amazing through COVID. The people have come out to support locals. Been a huge swing. I think something like 20% of gins consumed in Australia are now Australian gins by volume, which is phenomenal. And craft, I think Australian craft is about 8 or 9% volume of consumed in Australia.
Yeah, I think the goal, I think it was 15, but I think it might actually be 20% now is the goal that we're all striving for.
Yep. But it's still around 10, sub 10, isn't it, though, at the moment, or recently? Yeah.
That's still sub 10, definitely.
Yeah. So I think America's around the 20% mark for craft.
Yeah.
Consumption. Can you outline the most stressful point in your small business growth journey so our audience can learn from it?
Going through COVID, I think that 23rd of March 2020, when that hit, that was probably the most stressful point in our 10-year journey, just simply losing 50%. I mean, our business was 50% draft, 50% pack. So we didn't lose our entire business overnight, but we lost half of it. And when you are a small business, you don't tend to have things like disaster plans and things that you do and put in the bottom drawer and kind of hope that you never have to pull out. But yeah, that was quite I guess a pinnacle moment for us in our journey as small business owners, and there are silver linings to everything, and I think for us it did probably fast track our process into us joining the Fermentum family and us really having a good look about what our business needs and how we were going to take it to that next chapter. It needed an injection of capital, so we could have gone down a number of different paths with investors or loans or what have you. But being able to partner with Fermentum, some who are like-minded and who we've always looked up to, was the path that we chose for that. And I don't think if COVID hadn't have come along, then maybe we wouldn't have thought to do that. But yeah, definitely COVID and going through that, just having the weight of people's livelihoods on your shoulders in terms of how we're going to pay them was pretty stressful.
What area in business do you feel you've had to work on the most to add the greatest value?
I definitely think the relationship of sales and marketing and how they work together to drive one another. So I think if sales and marketing don't have a good relationship, then there's no the dynamics just don't work and one doesn't talk to the other. So yeah, I really feel that when you have those things working together, that's a really great, that's where great things happen. You can drive the business forward, whether it's growth or engagement or whatever the business needs are at the time. Just really making sure there's the connection of sales and marketing is something I think needs to be worked on continuously.
Yeah, that can always be hard to get those two areas of a business working in harmony. So
yeah, for sure.
What have you enjoyed the least about managing fast growth?
I enjoy pace, so that's when I think I'm at my best, is when there's so many different moving parts and things happening. I think for me personally, just learning to understand that you can't do everything and having to pick and choose, the best paths for the business. So leaving some things behind, I thought was pretty hard for me.
Yep.
But in terms of the dynamics and rapid growth and all of that, that's the exciting part of being a business owner.
Well, that's the next question. What do you love most about growing a small business?
For me, it's from the start and to the end, and everything in between that you've got to go through and work out to get the end result. And I think that's why I really enjoyed product development when I did that for a number of years for Woolies before Jayne and I got together and started the business. It's just like having when it's simply just an idea, and then you get to see it through to the very, very end. That was for me back at Woolies days, was actually seeing a product on the shelves of 600 or 700 supermarkets in Australia. So that was pretty cool.
What has been the biggest mindset shift for you in your small business growth journey?
The old mindset, it's probably the reverse of what you might think it would be, but I think I continue to think like a small business owner, but as time goes on, you need to start thinking like a big business owner and acting like a big business owner. So I think it's, being able to release some of the things that you're doing that need to be done, but, as a leader of a business or an owner of a business, you might not need to do anymore. So just really about employing the right people and letting go of something so you can think, strategically and for the long game.
Yeah, it's a bloody hard transition, isn't it? Letting go and delegating, particularly if you get mishire a couple of early ones, you get a bit gun shy.
Yeah, definitely.
What's the number one habit you think a small business owner needs to develop and maintain?
I guess going back to what I said just before, that habit about working on the business, not in the business. I think that's just rings true. It rings true. So, yeah.
Want to become the best manager you can be? Check out our Kick-Ass Manager course at growasmallbusiness.com. Do the course and add your fellow managers for no extra cost. Join the 30%. 70% of people quit their job because of their manager.
And can you talk to how you've added people to the team? Some wins, mistakes, and advice for those listening?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it goes without saying that employing people and the human resource side of business is, I think, one of the most difficult to get right.
Yep.
We always, attempted to employ for cultural fit.
Yep.
And a number of, we would do the normal process when it comes to employing people. 1, 2, 3rd interview. Then we would always do a beer test. Which would be let's go out with the person and see if we can
have a beer with them.
Have a beer with them. Sometimes we would go straight to the beer test after the second interview for whatever reason, because we were desperate to get someone in the seat. But yeah, I have learnt that taking your time, it's okay to take your time, and that good people who really want to join the business and can see the vision of the business, they will wait for you.
Yep.
And I think a couple of the really great salespeople that we've had in Two Birds over the time, they did wait. One poor guy, I think he did 4 or 5 interviews, took 4 or 5 months, and then I even dragged him to like an event and got him to work at the event, paid of course, just to see how he interacted and,
mm-hmm.
and like that. So yeah, take your time. It is worth getting people that share the values that you have.
What are some things you'd recommend of building a sustainable and kick-ass culture to help with the growth?
There's been a lot that I've probably learned in the last 6 months, and prior to Two Birds joining Fermentum, we were doing it, but we might not have been doing it as well. But I think the culture is built around just little things like doing the team days, bringing everyone in the business together. And it is really hard to do that when you've got a small business. And it costs a lot to fly people around, and you got to potentially close a business down, which for beer orders, that doesn't really work because people still want their beer. So I think creating days where people can kind of bond and get together and understand each other on a personal level, and understand each other's roles as well. I think that's really important, and I guess just trying to show your employees and your staff that you actually care about what we're doing and the community that we're working in. So I know Fermentum now have a supported volunteer day, so we're allowed to all go and take a paid volunteer day out in the community. So I think that's an amazing thing to kind of give back, and it does create a great sense of morale. We all post on internal Facebook system, what we've done, and it's really great to see what everyone likes to support and help out there. So I think just little things like that it's not massive things, but lots of little things go a long way.
Yeah. Tell our audience how you've handled balance.
The work-life balance?
Yep.
I tend to I just enjoy it pretty much. For me, it works for me to go at everything 100%. So I have a family, and I also love work. Love family and love work. So I tend to just do everything and just go full steam. I don't really like resting. So for me, my rest is being out with family and friends. So I guess I divide my time, and my downtime is to see people and go out and hang out. The work-life balance, there's not a lot of zen going on for me. But
Well, how much professional development have you invested in yourself over the years?
Probably not as much as I should have. It's a real sort of on the fly. I tend to learn more from peers and people that I come across from whatever it is that I'm trying to achieve at the time. So I definitely utilize the people around me to learn from, as opposed to like textbook learning or reading. So
And have you had mentors or coaches along the way?
No official mentors, but I am fortunate enough to be surrounded by people that have been great business people. One of them is my dad and my brother. They've always helped out, and I guess been able to certain type of people that understand business owners. Not everyone understands. So my family, people in that have always understood what I'm going through. My husband has also been in the liquor industry for a while, so he's been an asset if I've ever needed to talk through things. But I guess unofficially, the beer industry and is quite close, and Jayne's had certain people that she's gravitated towards. Obviously, brewers that she would go to for advice, and I've had the sales and marketing people that I've been friendly with over the years that we've open enough to be able to pick up the phone call and say, hey, how do you deal with this person, or what's the story with getting into this bottle shops or what have you. So that's kind of how I've rolled in the last decade.
Yep. And assume you've got a board of directors now, obviously after the acquisition earlier this year, but before, did you and Jayne have a board of directors or advisors?
Yeah, we did. It was because it's two families. We always did try to operate quite, I guess, formally in terms of having a board. We had also, from the start, we worked quite closely with PwC Small Business, so they've been with us from the very beginning, and the structure of our company and the way that it's set up. And although it's quite simple and clean with basically two families and self-funded, no investors, we have had formalised meetings and board minutes and things like that for a number of different years. And I think that probably came from both families and our backgrounds of where we came from previous employers. We both came with an idea of making sure that we we did things right and kept the right documentation. It was definitely not a cowboy setup.
That's good. How often would you meet?
We would have, I guess, official quarterly board meetings and management meetings every month.
Yep.
Because Jayne and I I've never lived in Melbourne. So we were quite strict on ourselves that it was important for us to get, together face to face, at least monthly. Yeah.
Oh, good. Now, you're one of the few that I've had on that have exited. You haven't exited operationally, obviously, but you've exited financially or, part of the acquisition. Any advice for the audience or anything you want to share from your experience around that?
It's all pretty fresh, but I guess, if you don't ask, you don't get. So for us, the next chapter for Two Birds is a really exciting phase. And yes, financially we have exited, but in terms of how the business is still running, operating, the direction of the brand, Jayne and I still have full say of how that goes. It's just now that we've got a couple more people to kind of bounce off.
Yep.
And get I guess support in what we're doing. Because it can get, I guess, a little difficult. Can use as a long time, so you sort of start to question, okay, have we been doing this right? What else could we be doing to get Two Birds out there and let it get its true potential, let it see its true potential. So it's not, a lot of people, I guess, see it negatively as a sellout or what have you, but it doesn't have to be like that. It is what you make it to be.
And it was something that you and Jayne decided to go looking for someone to partner with, and did you talk to many others?
Yeah, it was something that we'd actively decided to go looking for, and unfortunately, no, it all happened quite quickly. And the Fermentum guys were really quite open to the discussion, and a casual conversation led to something more formal. And
Great. All right, Danielle, I want to do our final 5 questions. What do you think is the hardest thing in growing a small business?
Hardest thing to growing a small business? 110% commitment every single day of your life. And if you don't have that in you, then
don't even try
it. It's I don't know who I would be if I didn't have Two Birds in my life for the last 10 years. So you've got to be prepared for it to really take over your life. But that's a good thing for many.
Favorite business book which has helped you the most?
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say to you before. I was like, all of these questions, I sound like a dumbass when I say I honestly don't have one. I might read them here and there as they come across, but I don't have them on the tip of my tongue.
Yep. Any great podcasts or online learning tools you use for your own professional development?
I don't have any particular go-to podcast or learning tools. Yeah, I'm a old school, pick up the phone. If I don't know, I ask. Because I learned long ago, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I tend to just go straight to the top of whoever it is that I need to know something from and ask them.
One tool you'd recommend to help grow a small business?
I definitely am a big believer in data and in data integrity and having that right from the get-go. And I wouldn't say we learned the hard way, because it wasn't entirely bad, but we did go through 2 systems before we settled on our final database system, which it's an ERP, so it was all-encompassing system that was difficult to use at the start, but once we really understood it and kind of could see what it could do for us, it really did streamline processes and give us that ability to have information at the fingertips. So a lot of didn't have to jump into multiple systems. So I really recommend spending the money, and it does hurt the hip pocket. Those things are expensive, but they are worth it.
Final and my favourite question. What would you tell yourself on day one of starting out?
Strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Like, it's never smooth.
Yep. Right. Well, thanks for your time today, Danielle. I think the audience get a lot of value out of what you shared with us, and congratulations to you and Jayne and the team. Phenomenal growth, 30% per annum, 0 to about 1 million litres after 10 years and acquisition. So well done.
Thank you very much.
And for our audience, we'd greatly appreciate a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. More reviews means we bubble up higher in iTunes, etc. So more business owners looking for podcast help with their growth will find us.